Tom, welcome to the Q&A series. Good to see you. Thanks so much for giving up a bit of your time.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure with the guys that were one of the first people that I did videos with many years ago, probably 6-7 years ago, with a little blogger that I used to have, this cheap camera. So it's an absolute pleasure to be returning the favor.
Again, really appreciate it. So, Tom, let's rip in. What's some of the top things that your guys are doing on the real estate gym? I'm told this has been going for 6 years now, the gym, and you've had another 1,000 people join up during the COVID crisis. And when Nathan and I started, obviously, we were addicts to the real estate gym. It really helped us create a business from day one. So thanks again. But what are some of your top guys doing at the moment?
So, Alex, right now, they're taking advantage of what is called an increased call rate opportunity. So, generally speaking, and this is validated by a lot of people that I speak to that use the phone as the main form of prospecting, using prospecting models. The average phone call, for instance, it used to be around 2.5 minutes. That now has changed, and the average phone call is roughly around 7 minutes. And the reason why is people have got time, Alex, to speak to you. So this has been a golden opportunity to actually go deeper in a relationship with people on your database. And that's what they've been doing. So calling, but calls lasting longer, and the depth of the call being deeper, and they don't have this addiction and need to have a physical appointment. Because sometimes, Alex, real estate people have got this brainwash idea. Every time I call someone, I've got to get an appointment, right? Which is pretty much bullshit, because every time you call someone, you must add value. Just because you've got an agenda to get an appointment, they might not want an appointment. So what have the really good ones been doing? They've been taking advantage of a time where people have time to talk to them. And I accept, Alex, there have been less transactions. I accept there have been less listings. But when I went to New York 3 years ago to interview Gary Vaynerchuk, he said to me, in times of pain, in times when there is less transactions, don't fight it. Swim with the tide and build your brand, because you've got a chance to actually stand out. So when the market comes back, people are going to say, hang on a second, who's visible at the moment? And what happens is that's when you can shift market share quickly. So that's what I've been encouraging my gym members. That's what good real estate agents have been doing. And Alex, that's what I've been doing myself. I said to you off camera, I've been impacted financially by speaking gigs. And yes, I've made less income, but I've also over communicated in this market, because I knew come the end of lockdown, people are going to say, shit, who was there? Who's visible? Who's been over communicating? And that's what I think the good ones have been doing. The only difference is that occasionally, where you would have sort of gone in and sort of done a quick pop in on a property, some of them have now been saying, hey, listen, can we hit up on Zoom? Can you do a FaceTime and show me your property? Because if a vendor didn't feel comfortable about you popping in, there have been other alternate methods to actually see the property. And that's what we've seen emerge in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, that makes total sense, Tom. And as far as the prospecting conversations go, so for the agents that have been at home and they're trying to get their mojo back up and about again, and what do those phone calls sound like? Is there a typical trend to them, to try and obviously be empathetic to people's state? Now, how have you heard those conversations play out?
Okay, so let's go through, because I know real estate people love to actually hear something, not just sort of describe, but hear it. So I'll role play 3 or 4 phone calls that I think work in this market. The first phone call, I call it the welfare call. And it sounds like this. Hey, it's Tom Panos here from Ouwens Cassidy. And the only reason I'm calling today is to see, is there any help or assistance I can give you in this current time? And shut up. That's got no commission breath. That's simply sort of saying, hey, is there anything I can do? That's one kind of call, right? The second call is the call that basically says, we're still working. And it sounds like this. Hey, Alex, Tom Panos here from Ouwens Cassidy. I want to let you know, for us, it's been business as usual, but in an unusual way. I want to let you know that this is what we've observed. Can I ask you, how has COVID-19 impacted your real estate plans? Now, that's not got commission breath. That's sort of saying, hey, we're here. We recognize things have changed. How have they changed for you, right? That's that kind of call. And then another call could be the call that's got, a stronger reason, which could be, hey, Alex, Tom Panos here from Ouwens Cassidy. I want to let you know that it is business as usual for us, but it's unusual at the moment. And the reason I'm calling is this, that there is a record number of people that are on realestate.com looking at your suburb. Yet there's also a record number of shortage of listings. Never since 1991 has stock been so low. So I just thought to myself, you'd indicated to me that at some point this year, you were thinking about coming on the market. If I had a buyer right now that had 800 to spend, would I be wasting my time mentioning your property to them? Because it would be crazy not to take advantage of the demand and supply equation. And I've got to let you know, many of our smart vendors are choosing to sell high and buy low. And what they're doing is they're selling now because there is buyers. I don't know, in 6 months' time, when jobs start, job keep, and when the banks stop freezing mortgages, maybe there's going to be a lot of properties on the market, and that worries me because you might be selling in competition, not in isolation. And that's that sort of, so you've got a mixture of phone calls. One at the extreme end is really, really soft. And then for a certain amount of people in your database, man, just go off. I reckon, Alex, by the way, that last phone call that I role played with you, that is my honest view. If you are a vendor that has some view of actually selling, why wouldn't you take advantage of a marketplace that has got low stock levels, come in, sell high, and then buy low later on?
Great dialogue, Tom. So that probably translates to once you've actually got the listing as well. In chatting with some of the top guys around SA and OC and Australia, they're saying that their conversion rate from listings to sales might go down a little bit because people are, sitting on the fence whether they should take a lower offer. In management of vendors' expectations around that issue, what are some of the conversations that you're suggesting to have before going to market? So in, say, a pre-launch meeting, how would those conversations look with a vendor to get them ready to take an offer?
Okay. Well, I think for a start, pre-COVID, post-COVID, I've never been a believer that you should actually educate a vendor before you've signed it up. Because I actually think that what you're doing is being a bit of a dream destroyer. So I don't believe that you should sit there at a listing presentation and say, hey, I want to let you know, listen, it's going to be really, really hard. I think a better process, Alex, is to say this. Hey, listen, let's aim for the stars. Let's aim for that emotional buyer. Let's have the benefit of the doubt. But I am letting you know, if within a week we don't have engagement, and if we have got online activity that's not translating to physical inspections, we have an alarm bell and we must address it. So what you do is you whet their taste buds that you probably will be having a chat about price alignment soon after. But you don't destroy their dreams and say to them, it ain't going to happen. And then what you do is, after you've signed it up, you actually, before you leave, you just say, and I want to let you know that I want to come and see you in a week's time. Because if we're not getting engagement, it's either the price is too high or our marketing is poor. And I want to make sure that we know those nice and early. So all you're doing is getting permission at a listing presentation to have a crucial conversation soon after you've had a few buyers through the property.
Yeah, totally agree. You know, it's having some realistic optimism in the listing environment, but then a week later, before you go onto the market, having a kind of an expectations meeting where then you start to review, you know, what might happen if you get an early offer. So if you get an early offer, then that buyer might have been looking for 6 months and they're red hot. So we need to treat those buyers very seriously. If you've been on the market for 6 days, they've been on the market for 6 months. That's what matters.
Well, I think, Alex, you've beautifully said that, because the research that I have from real estate gym members is that they often tell me the best offers they get is in those 6 days. So one of the things that I urge everyone watching this is, at that set to sell meeting or set the stage meeting or whatever label you give it, that expectations meeting, you actually say to an owner, I'm letting you know, if we get an offer in that first week, don't think you're giving it away. Understand this. It's not how long you have been on the market. It's how long the buyer has been in the market. And if you actually set that up there and then, when you get an offer, you come along, you say, hey, this went as per plan. We've got this number. Because if you don't do that, you're going to get one of these vendors. I'll say, oh, that's a good start. Wow, that's encouraging, right?
Never heard that one before in my career, Tom. I'm sure most of the guys and girls haven't either. So that's why it's critical to use the words that we know that vendors use all the time, like I'm giving my home away, or it's early days, or that's a good start. So in that expectations meeting, it's great to run through a really good agenda that addresses all those things, so that, to your beautiful quote, it doesn't seem like you've got commission breath at the point when an offer comes in. And none of this is done with any false intent or trickery. We genuinely know that the best offers are typically coming in the first few weeks on the market at the moment. And hey, sometimes it takes a bit longer to find the right buyer. And the vendor needs to know that you're in there for the long haul, but at the same time that you understand market dynamics. And one of the lines that I've used recently is that I would hate to have a conversation in 3 months, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, and you've said to me, I wish that you'd push us a bit harder to take that offer. So look, I'm not here to push you, but I'm just here to say these are the facts in the market. You're asking 1 million. We're at 950,000 now. We have 2 more offers there, all in the 800s. So you're not giving away 50. No one else sees that 50 there. You're actually protecting yourself by 60,000, because the next best offer is 890. If we lose the 950, they're our hottest buyer. She's pregnant. They're ready to go. They've put 2 offers in on other properties. They've missed out on them. Then we're waiting for new buyers to enter the market. And new buyers will look at a dozen homes, and then they feel like they've got control over it. So it's really about setting the scene, and when delivering the offer, ensuring them that the vendor knows that you've gone to war for them, like a scene from Gallipoli, and explaining exactly the process that you've undertaken to get them up to 950, that it wasn't easy. Some of that negotiation dialogue, Tom, with buyers at the moment. I mean, it's a bit tricky when some buyers are saying, hey, I think it's going to get cheaper. I think it's going to get cheaper in 6 months. I'm going to wait. What are some winning words for that situation?
Well, the first thing is you've got to stay calm and collected and not become emotional when you get a low baller or opportunistic buyers wanting to use the current marketplace and actually say, hey, we think the marketplace is going to actually drop even more. The last thing you want to do, because they already think that we've got commission breath. So if you actually respond in a way that validates that, they're not going to listen to a word because that's what they expected. My approach would be as simple as this. Hey, listen, here's the deal. If you genuinely believe that the marketplace is going to drop another 5-10%, and you believe that, I suggest that you wait. If you believe that, you wait. What I'd like to do is give you another view. And that view is that last week we sold 4 properties. And the reason we sold 4 properties is that 4 people were intelligent enough to actually do what Warren Buffett suggests you should do. And that is that you actually buy when others are scared, when others are actually saying things are going to drop. And you take advantage of having less buyer competition because you've got a higher chance of getting an offer accepted. The other reasons why we sold 4 properties is that, generally speaking, smart buyers have worked out that it's impossible to buy at the bottom of the market. And the reason why is the only way that you know that the marketplace has actually bottomed is when it's actually moved up a bit, because then you can actually look at a graph and say, shit, that was last month. Why did that sell for 20 grand more? But by that stage, it's too late, because what actually happens is markets move faster than what people do. So what happens is a buyer starts to chase the market. So I think to the buyer, I would say a far better question to ask yourself is this. You're buying a home for your family. Are you going to buy a home for your family for the next 10 years based on the market or based on your life? You like this home? Give me an offer, even if it's a future price offer. Let me take that to the owner and see what we can do. I would use that, and I wouldn't sit there and say, no, you're wrong, the market's not going to drop, because you can't say that. You don't know that. All you can do is sit there, more trusted advisor, more doctor, give them the facts, tell them about what others have done, and I think that's what people want, and that's got no commission breath, that's calm, collected, and it's strong because it's the truth.
Couldn't agree with you more. Keeping the calmest person in the room wins, firstly, and then secondly, it's also comes back to the conversation you've had with your vendor. And if you've got the vendor priced correctly in the first place, then, and they give you permission to say so, which they should, is to say to the buyers, look, the owners are committed to the sales process, and we had a discussion around pricing. I gave a recommendation on pricing, allowing a buffer just in case if the market does come off a little bit. But at OC and across the industry, we actually haven't seen that in South Australia yet. We've had 44% less listings come to the market, and that's insulated all the price drops. But our clients are keen to sell. So they've actually built in what we believe is a 5 to 10% reduction already. So you're already getting that reduction. Beautiful. And as a result, we've got plenty of interest in the property. So if this one isn't for you, and respectfully, if your budget's a little bit less, we can move you on to some of our other properties, and we'd love to sell you something. But if you're still interested in this one, let's just write up your best offer, and we never know how it'll go.
Well said. Beautifully said. And that had no desperation, no addiction to some sort of outcome. And I think, part of the secrets of dealing with buyers, Alex, in this marketplace is to not be desperate, right? Because desperate can be smelt a mile away, and desperate actually doesn't help a sale, it hinders a sale. And my approach in any negotiation, whether it's media, whether it's training, whether it's me as an auctioneer, walking away is actually part of my negotiation, because often you're never going to really find out where someone's at till you actually do walk away. So to anyone that's watching this in your team, I would suggest that they learn the art of having patience, because I can't tell you the amount of times, Alex, on a Saturday, I've done an auction, the property's been passed in, we negotiate with the highest bidder, we're still 40 grand short. And instead of me sitting there and saying, trust me, pay the price, it's worth it, you'll regret it, we had another one up the road, I don't do any of that. I just say, hey, that's the reserve. If you bought it at that, you'd be really happy. Anyway, I'll leave it with you. And I walk to my car, and often I will have a buyer come up and say to me, so we're the highest, what happens now? And I say, it's easy. You pay the number that I showed you, which is called the reserve. And they'll say, but there's no one else here. I'll say, correct. Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, beautiful. I love it, Tom. Thanks so much for your time. You're a champion. Looks like you've got a great tan there. You've been in virtual Mykonos back there, or what?
So listen, I should have been in Mykonos. I was going to leave for Mykonos, Greece anyway, on June the 8th after ARIC. No, look, I spend a bit of time outside now that I have a barbecue every lunchtime with my girls have been off school. And one of them went back to school yesterday. So every lunchtime we'd have a barbecue. So I just spend a bit of time outside, but I actually take video conferencing very serious. I have a green screen. I have lighting. I make sure that I actually dress up. I don't sit there and have a dog jumping on me with in a part of my house where I've got. I think in this new world, if you're going to show up as a pro physically, you show up as a pro on video. And I've made it my business to do what I can to be the best version of me when I'm having video conferences.
And in every aspect of your life, Tom. That's why we love you. Thanks so much for your time. You're a champion and a gentleman. Love it how you call it as it is. Speak to you soon, Tom.
Thank you so much.